Oliver Callan, welcome to Under the Grill with myself and Kevin Dundon.
I'm very happy to be here.
It's great to have you.
It's great to have you here. Thank you. We asked you.
Smells amazing for people watching this. Because, it's the sense we're missing, isn't it, on video and audio?
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful smells. We asked you to choose a dish from your childhood, and we know from listening to you on the radio that your mum is a really good cook.
She's from East Cork as well.
Yeah.
And I was on my way to the ploughing, so it was all great nostalgia, farm nostalgia coming back to me. And I said, this is the task. Have you got any recommendations? And I think it's because of the time of the year, coming into those longer nights. And I said I have a craving constantly for the homemade burgers that the mammy makes. And so that's what I suggested. And it was probably a very simple thing for you.
No, it's actually, I thought it was lovely because it's got, me, the burger itself is a burger, but it's more like a Salisbury steak. So,
Okay.
And it was interesting that your mum was putting grated carrots through it. It was like, obviously you didn't like vegetables, so she was trying to
Well, I love vegetables.
getting vegetables in a different way.
Yeah, but I suppose it was the Irish way, wasn't it?
It was
around that time, early 90s maybe, when, we had the Italian Revolution where spaghetti bolognese and lasagna arrived, and the Irish thing was put carrots in it. Big chunks of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know why
And
she would have done
then
that, but
mashed turnips with peas.
yeah, so on the side, sure, yeah.
But where's that coming from? Or was that just the thing that your mum did?
Like, what I remember to grow up on a farm is that we always just ate whatever was seasonal. I mean, the whole conversation all through the summer was, when new spuds would come in, and there'd be like a 20-minute long conversation about how soapy, wet, dry, floury they were. And then there was the Italian potatoes as well, which were like a miracle because you could eat the skins.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it came into the autumn when we get the new Irish potatoes.
Oh,
I think we get new Irish potatoes all year round, weirdly, for some reason. So turnip kind of season coming into the autumn.
Yeah.
October is the proper.
And it's something I actually personally love.
Oh my God, I love it.
But we don't eat very little turnip in our house because my wife doesn't really like it.
Right, it just cancels things out.
It's like that, red peppers, green peppers, yellow peppers.
God.
Never in our house. Mushrooms, questionable. She might buy some mushrooms because I like them.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's I think it's the Mammy way. Is it the Mammy way?
This is the Mammy way. I also, by the way, because we know pumpkins the whole pumpkin Halloween thing came from Ireland because we carved out turnips. I brought that tradition to America.
But that's the original.
Yeah.
So we would have carved an actual turnip
yeah,
on Halloween.
People still do. Because that's the original. When they go back to
how do they do it?
Well, we had a Swiss Army knife, but it took forever, and I've been passing it over to my brother, and like your arm be getting so tired, but it looked really cool.
Yeah.
And because it has kind of purple amber hue and it's much smaller, obviously, so it looks a little bit more menacing. Than a pumpkin.
I love.
So that's kind of a turnip is lovely, and it's also, I think, extremely low in fat until we put the butter in.
Well, I've put a little bit of butter in it, and what I've done your mum's burgers.
Yeah.
And I've just made a lovely mushroom creamy sauce to go with them.
Oh, go away!
Quite
Okay,
nice.
Excellent.
Just kind of pimp it up a bit.
Yeah.
I've done the turnip two ways. So I love turnip that's literally just diced.
When it's cubed or diced, very good.
And tossed in butter. And
tiny little butter.
But with respect to your mum,
Mammy Callan mash.
Yeah, Mammy Callan. So we have
gorgeous.
the peas
through
there.
Peas and black pepper.
And black pepper through it. I know you're not supposed to put black pepper through there. It's just supposed to be white pepper with.
Oh no, it's white pepper. I think in the burger and black pepper in the turnip, just to make it confusing.
Perfect, yeah.
White pepper is a thing I've rediscovered. I think last autumn, where I suddenly saw it in a shop and went, nobody talks about white pepper anymore. And we used to have that growing up in soup. Mostly,
yes.
Yeah.
That it would be on top of soup. Am I wrong? Is that white pepper doesn't seem? Is it out of fashion, Kevin? What's the story?
No, it's back. It's like there's certain foods you're 100% right in what you're doing, like steaks and stuff like that. Black pepper, crushed black pepper is brilliant.
Yeah.
If you're doing like fish dishes, fish sauces, white pepper. If you don't want to see it going through, the white pepper is a little bit more mellow
it's always ground to a dust.
Yeah, to a dust. It's just because you want it to disappear into the food.
Okay.
So
you don't want to have a big crunch of black pepper.
And then if you go like to India, they would use peppers and stuff like that, but they would use white pepper in one of their eight spices, and it's just kind of it's an undertone flavour that's happening through there. Mm-hmm. But if you look at that sauce there.
Beautiful, yeah.
So, and
nice.
then
you put some white wine in there. I saw you.
I put a little bit of white wine, and then we're just going to put a little bit of butter in there too. Well, you said you were a
I always
farmer.
watch you guys. I always watch you guys going, just a little bit of butter, and you're at home going, that's it.
But that's
And you
a
look up the recipe online, and it has a little bit gentle 50 grams of butter. It's like
I know.
nowhere near.
But that's really interesting. And it's a classic thing to do. It's called monter au beurre, which is a French term of mounting a sauce with butter. And what it's actually, there's no flour or anything in this, but it actually thickens your sauce.
Oh, right.
And it gives it a lovely gloss. You might see the gloss coming on that sauce there now. It's really shiny. And I always kind of describe it as the food is nearly coming alive, and you really want to go for it and eat and jump in and eat it.
Yeah.
So when
This
see
is
that?
some good kind of circus juggling chef
I know.
juggling action. Are you wearing those beads just so we could hear the
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
the timing?
yeah, it's timing.
And was this a midweek meal in your house or a Sunday meal? Or
Yeah, I feel it was a Friday kind
Oh,
of home
yeah.
from school, and maybe there was a lot of work to be done for the weekends, and I need to get spuds and meat into the
kiddos.
into myself.
So lovely
Older sister.
sauteed potatoes there.
Yes, that was in term we didn't use sauteed.
Fried
potatoes.
spuds.
Which were generally leftover spuds from
Yeah.
earlier in the week, whatever. It was
Yeah.
just a nice way of bringing them back
All
to
those
life.
lovely habits, yeah.
But look at this, oh my God.
Would you ring your mum with a special request when you go home and say, any chance of?
This is the
Sometimes.
request. I'm only doing this whole thing to get her to make the burgers again.
You were going, that sounds good.
As good as this, and Kevin Dundon do a better job. Oh my God.
We have a drop of wine to go with it as well.
And I have, there's a
Salad.
little bit of smoked bacon going in there too,
Oh.
which is,
So my mum's recipe didn't make any sense. She had no measurements. She never does. My niece,
you cook
who's
from your
mad
heart.
at cooking, she is always frustrated because she never knows how much of anything. So it was grated carrot, grated onion, chopped parsley, breadcrumbs. There's
a little bit of beef stock in the
beef
burger as well.
stock. Yeah.
And it's interesting. My secret ingredient in a burger is a pinch of cinnamon.
Is it?
Yeah, so cinnamon itself is
Nice.
the flavour enhancer and brings out the flavour.
Okay.
So
Cinnamon.
maybe
That would-
give
that is
that little tip to your
unexpected.
mum when you go back
See how
for her
that
to try
goes.
it out. It looks delicious though, but so do you like burgers, Viva?
Do you like burgers? Yeah, my mother used to make something similar, all right, and fried potatoes, yeah. My mother used to make a lot of things with mince, moussaka with mince. There was a lot of mince, yeah, and she was a great
Fancy
cook,
that.
absolutely. Moussaka and beef
Moussaka
stroganoff
was
with mince.
pretty.
Yeah, no, they had a friend from America who'd come home and give them all the recipes.
The latest.
Yeah.
So, Mazzaka from Greece, you mean?
From Greece, but the friend from America used to come home with the recipes
Oh,
and
okay.
she'd go and be groovy, you know. So the wine that we are having today is recommended by Jean Smullen to go with your choice. And it is a Barossa Australian, and it is $8.99 in Lidl. And it is it's a Shiraz, which is arguably one of the most important grapes in Australia.
Well, it's Australia, so you have to pronounce it Shiraz. Don't you? You have to do that kind of thing, Shiraz. And it's also Lidl, by the way.
Oh yeah, I was
Make
wondering.
sure-
I asked yesterday, Lidl. What does that rhyme with so I can remember?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Well, needle, which is not a very nice thing to
but the thing
remember.
is, if you actually say Lidl, the Irish would know what you're talking about.
It's like Littles, the little. Lidl I've heard
Yeah.
once upon a time as well.
I'm not used to
We
being.
definitely say
I'm not
Lidl.
used to audio, right? So it's really hard because I have to keep asking people how to pronounce things. I
and
never
it's-
had to think about that before.
I've never had to think about it either. Become a radio presenter because you can do impressions. It doesn't matter how you pronounce anything.
Yeah.
Every character's going to pronounce it differently as well.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There you
The other
go.
way you were saying that you ate in season because you had the farm. Did you have much of a kitchen garden then as well on the farm, or was it?
Yeah, well, we always had more salad things, so there was always lettuce and scallions growing like mad.
Yes.
And cabbages.
And you
yeah,
get gluts
it was.
of them.
My mother is just one of these like storybook mammies who was just able to do everything. Like she was constantly cooking, baking on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Where do I start? Let's start with the main bit.
Lovely. Is there garlic in it?
No.
Lovely.
Does it bring you back?
It really does. Oh my god, it is the very thing. And you've got the nice crispy edges. Is that because of the flour, or is it just the way you're cooking it?
The flour as well, and also what I do is I put the pan on, get it really hot, and then put the oil on the burger and then into the pan, so you get that nice hot sizzle. And when you put it into the pan, leave it sit there, like don't move it around, because if you move them around, it's like cooking a steak. you're cooling down the pan, and then you're just getting a stew rather than
Yeah.
a caramelization on the outside.
Oh, it tastes like a
Tastes like your
Friday
home.
evening with the
Yeah.
nights drawing in.
It's really nice, and it's your mother's recipe. That's so cute. It's
She'd be
beautiful.
delighted. She'd be going, "What's this fancy mushroom sauce now? You don't need that at all."
So would your family be a kitchen table type of family?
Very much so, yeah.
So a big kitchen, big table.
No room. Mammy hardly sitting at it, running around, making sure
Everything's
are the
all right.
plates hot enough. Yes, I think they're burning through the table as we speak.
Oh,
And,
is there like a mammy's apple tart and that sort of stuff?
of course, apple tarts as well, yeah, which would have coins.
Did your mum do it on a plate,
She
or
still
did she
makes
do it
apple
in a
tarts. In a plate,
cake?
Pyrex plate, yeah, into the oven.
Yeah, real classics. That's a real mammy classic.
It is. And
The Pyrex
dare
plate.
anyone to call it a pie.
Oh, yeah.
And then there'll be a separate gas oven going out in the shed at Christmas time for puddings, because obviously they're boiled for I don't know how many hours.
Yeah.
And Christmas cakes. She said one year she made 18 Christmas cakes.
Yeah.
This is on top of farm with cows being milked.
Is that for
turkeys
friends
being
and family,
plucked and
was it?
everything. Yeah, exactly. Just giving them away.
Isn't it a lovely
Fruit
present to
cakes.
give, isn't it?
An unbelievable present to give.
And is your mum still doing that?
She does much fewer, far
Do you
fewer
get one?
now.
Or do you
And,
spend
no,
Christmas
because
at
I
home?
wasn't a huge fan of fruitcake, and I've only started to develop a palate for it in the last few years, and maybe
Yeah.
because it was just so much of it at
Yeah,
home for a while.
yeah.
So yeah, she does, and it's the only time I think I've ever heard my mother swear is if one of the cakes went wrong, start to sink in the middle,
Yeah.
and you just hear a little
Disappointment.
gentle fuck, and there's a bit of stress going, oh fuck, and we do only meant one thing, which is like, well, the
Oh,
cake
the
is
cake's
sunk.
fucked.
Just open the oven too soon.
That's so cute. You obviously.
But that smell that you must remember that smell as you walked into the house.
And it is a Saturday evening with the lights on, and she's just washed the floor,
Yeah.
and you can smell the fresh baking,
lovely,
which was
isn't
the
it?
bribe to get us to go and collect the cows for milking as well, because there was great promise.
Were
we
you
could-
milking twice a day, or
twice a day, yeah, of course, yeah.
and many in
And we
the
quite
family?
a
Is there
scattered
many in the
farm, so
family?
we
Or?
had there were three of us. I was the youngest until my sister came along when
Yeah.
I was 11.
Right.
So I was the youngest golden child, and then I became a middle child.
Oh, God.
You know, just like that. Well, I think up to 11 might be just about okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, so because we were obviously heading to teenage years, then when she's growing up, she was a teenager, when she's a toddler, we're suddenly aware of we can't have her around the cows, you know, because it's just so dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas we're also thinking when we're adults there, go, hang on a second, we were small, running in and out.
Yeah.
And we'd no sense of danger because obviously that's how my parents grew up and so on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's incredibly homely food, isn't it? It's amazing that food just brings you.
It brings
To
you
a
back to a
place,
time
doesn't
and
it?
place, doesn't it? Big time.
Yeah.
It's like when you talk about your mum making the Christmas cakes and Christmas puddings. Our family's mad into food, but I had a great aunt called Auntie Joy and Uncle Philip, and they had a market garden farm called Little Orchard in the UK, and she was an amazing woman of making chutneys and jams. There was always this kind of smell of larder when you walked into the house, or baking, and you go down and she would have normally it was on Stevens's Day, she would have like all desserts, like an afternoon tea of brandy snaps and scones and Victoria sponges and the jams and all the homemade jams and everything else. It's just, and then you go down to the farm and Uncle James would be out there and he'd have a grapevine in it's like all these great memories, but it's the smell that gets me every single time. And that
The
was
science
insane.
links it, doesn't it? Smell to
It does,
nostalgia.
yeah, it does,
Brings you
because
straight
it
to
brings you straight to that
A
point.
memory you don't think you have,
Yeah,
but it just accesses it straight away, doesn't it?
yeah. It's kind of like once a year when you walk out into the garden and you smell the elderflower for the first time, or the wild garlic.
Right.
And it's like, it just brings you back to last year.
But I wonder how we got those senses if you come from a foodie house or you grew up.
Yeah.
Where some people don't, you kind of go, oh my God, it doesn't smell so good here. And they're kind of looking at you, what do you mean? When you're outside and so on. It was a bit like having a mum that like worshipped food and was so good at it that when you visited a friend's house and you got their home cooking, you're going, this is strange. What's something missing here? Like you just assume every mammy is the same, don't you?
Strange being
And of course, the mammy Cal would be delighted when you come home and report how soggy the apple tart is.
soggy bottom of that one, mum.
Overcooked, yes, soggy bottom, overcooked everything, and vegetables that have been obliterated and so on. It'd be just kind of like smug.
Yeah.
No, but you know, the right kids are so honest, right? And they just come straight out and say what they want. Like, our kids were a disaster. So brilliant, because they love food, obviously, and they eat everything that we do. And then we'd be in friend's house for dinner, some of that, and they'd cut into the steak and it'd be well done or some of that. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. What's this?
Shut up. Kick it under the table. Eat it.
Extra chewing required.
Oh, genius.
Yeah, no, my mother was a great
me.
cook, but we had my brother had this friend, and his mother made Findus crispy pancakes, waffles, fish fingers, and my brother could not get around there fast enough for about a year. And then he
We
came
couldn't
back,
afford
then he
those.
came back.
We couldn't afford those in Ireland.
They were fancy.
Yeah, no, well, I
Fancy,
mean, my mother was disgusted. She was so insulted. He's going around there for the frozen stuff.
I know. But it's
anyway,
kind of that.
It's just
The
a
green, the
difference.
field is always green on the other side of the fence, isn't it?
And
Yeah.
and now he's a complete food snob, so.
Yeah.
The lack of or avoiding waste was a huge thing as well, wasn't it? Even if there was like a bit of pastry left over from the baking, you would probably end up with a steak and kidney pie or something, a few days later.
But that is fantastic.
And even the milk, because we obviously drank our own milk that came from the cows, unpasteurized, not advised anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tuberculosis,
Did you know harm did it?
Did no harm whatsoever. Maybe cholesterol, I don't know. But that would be put aside then for bread and so on. There'd be kind of a little bit of slightly sour.
What was Monday like for you? Did in our house it was like the leftover roast
leftover, yeah.
made into a stew.
Oh, made into a stew.
Yeah, we used to call it
Right,
Monday's
yeah.
muck.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Grateful little.
No, but that's the whole family. It goes back in
is that? Yeah,
like my
Monday's
grandfather and his they always call it Monday's muck. So it was like the roast, the vegetables, and then the gravy put it on top or whatever
makes
and
sense.
boiled up.
And kind of nicer because
Yeah, it
of
was
something,
lovely.
wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, no. It is lovely, and I'd say it's lovely now, but at the time we weren't
You
too
were going,
pleased.
no, this is not as good as the
Mum, sorry about that, Mum. if you're listening, I love you. I think you're an amazing cook.
You sound like you really admire your
Retrospectively,
mom,
son.
though. You really
Yeah,
admire her,
but
yeah.
her work ethic for both my parents was extraordinary, and also she was like the second youngest in the house of 10, so she kind of like reared loads of children by the time she was leaving to go to school, and then she had all of us, so she's kind of one of those workaholics.
Amazing.
Happy still alive in her
Amazing,
70s.
yeah.
She's good.
I think when you grow up in a farm and work in a farm and be part of that farming community, you just have that work ethic that you just work hard.
Yeah, and I
You've
suppose
no choice.
appreciation for food because you understand where it comes from and the amount of work that goes into it to get it onto your plate.
Yeah, and the value of it.
And yeah, exactly. And obviously over the years as regulations and stuff have kicked up, you start to get a little bit forlorn about the cottage industries of all those baked goods and small little poultry houses and things like that. And obviously for the wider good, I suppose, because it's food safety and so on. But
You're 100% right, and it's like when it comes to hens and eggs and stuff like that, like our first we have our own girls in Dunbrody House, like we have 30 of them and they produce the eggs just for breakfast, but we still have to purchase eggs in. So initially we were using this lovely lady Noreen, and she was producing eggs, and then the health inspectors came in and she was asked to reinvest a whole lot of money, and none of her kids wanted to get into the business, so she ended up closing down. And like if you go down there, like it was perfectly normal, but it just didn't tick the box.
didn't tick, no. And that's why it's harder to keep. We would have kept turkeys, some years, I'd say 60, 70, 80, maybe 50, and then it was getting fewer and fewer, and eventually the regulations just meant my parents couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But they would keep the few for themselves now, and that doesn't go into the market, which is, I think,
fine.
one of the little loopholes. And absolutely fine. And their turkeys are let out, and they go out and around the place. With the cabbages we grew used to be rolled into the shed because it would stop them pecking each other, because it would... being the nature of beasts, they would pick a weak one and kind of peck on that one, whereas if you give them a good cabbage head, they didn't care anymore. And it was, again, for us, it was a job for us in the winter months when the cows are sort of drying off and there's not as much milking to be done, even though they're in sheds and the work is extra hard. Did I mention it's very hard work? But
Yeah.
that's
It
why I
sounds
picked a job.
idyllic. It sounds idyllic, though.
It does, and we've fantastic
Yeah.
memories. I mean, we can't have one of those happy childhoods that Maeve
Definitely.
Binchy used to talk about, and people were sceptical going. Wouldn't make good literature, would it? The kind of
No.
miserable Irish childhood is vital for that thing, where it's like merry childhood, where everything was pretty much grand, except for the rest of the world in the 80s.
Yeah.
But I have great memories. I would have loved to be growing up on a farm. I think.
Do you think so?
I really think. I love the
Oh,
countryside. I love the outdoorsy. I love the animals. I love feeding. I had horses when I was a kid, so I used to show jump and stuff like that. So it was,
Right.
so it was a real kind of
Privileged.
Well, we weren't really.
is great.
We weren't
Separate
really.
conversation.
Yeah, we weren't really, but it was.
Nothing
it was,
says like show jumping is a hard one to kind of sell as.
No, I
know,
tell you.
when they have bareback horses and figless, they're not attending the Dublin Horse Show in the.
No, do you remember the Grand
Prix.
Hotel in Malahide?
Yes, of
Yes,
course.
yeah, it's still there.
Yeah,
And
old
the Ryan
Victorian
family,
building,
the Ryan family, right? And behind that, they had an international indoor arena there many
Really?
years ago.
Okay.
And so I used to keep my pony there, and then Jean Ryan, which is the daughter of the Ryans, the own the Grand Hotel, kept her pony there. And the people that were renting the whole place left, and Jean and myself kept our horses there
Okay.
together because the family liked me, and we used to keep it. I didn't pay.
Oh,
we
I
had
see,
the
okay.
thing, and so we were, and it was before the knockdown, and they had the international or the big conference centre. Because that was my I used to go in there and muck out the horses before I go to school and muck them out when I came back. So it wasn't really that privileged. Because if it was
I don't know.
if it was privileged now,
I
if it was
come
privileged,
off
we
it.
might have had someone doing that for
You do
us.
forget the
Oh,
bit
give
where
me a break.
you forget the bit where you know someone who's going to keep your horse for free is like that's
No, it was definitely my smile.
and that's all from Kevin
Yes,
Dundon.
yes. But anyway, Oliver,
Dundon.
Oliver
No
actually,
privileged hell.
Oliver collected his leaving cert
I could
results
drink
in a
this.
tractor.
Yes.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yes, an international tractor.
Oh.
It wasn't even four-wheel drive. Yeah, but it did have power steering, which was a new
pretty
innovation
cool.
for us in the 90s. And I was farming for the whole summer. It was 1999, 25 years ago now, actually, when I think of it. And I didn't want to think too much about the leaving cert. And plus, at this stage, because I was, the kind of third, the third sibling, and my sister was too young to run the farm. The other ones were gone, my brother and sister. And the only thing I wanted in life is the validation from them that I actually ended up working the farm much longer and more than them, because they were able to leave at 14, 15
Yeah.
to do other jobs. Whereas I had to stay the whole way through up to leaving cert and into college. So I did the whole summer there. And I remember listening to Jerry Ryan as well quite a lot over that summer. And it just like I hadn't, I just was stuck in the countryside for the whole time very happily. And it was like a chore to go into the town. And I was always left to my own devices. My parents let me choose whether to do transition year or not. And subjects for leaving cert was no, didn't want to know about it really. Other than just, the good encouragement and so on. So I just went in and quietly collected my out. Now I didn't have any, wasn't licensed or insured, so I had to park the tractor at the edge of town and then walk the rest
Because
of
you're
the
entitled
way.
to drive a tractor at the age of, if you're
Yeah, I mean, I was.
14 or 15 or something.
I think the
What
first
is it?
sign that I was gay was the fact that I was probably 11 when I started driving the tractor. I was like, there's something off about this kid. 8 and 9 now is the manly age. I was like 11. It's a bit wimpy. And I really enjoyed the tractor. And I actually sometimes think I'd love to have a tractor to go home the odd time and drive around the place, because there's just something it's kind of like the washing machine effect when you're a kid. You stick your head into the washing machine back when you could. I don't think you can do it anymore. The dimple in the drum, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a nice happy sort of womb like existence. I think the tractor's like that, because the roar of everything, you don't hear
so
what's
high
going
up.
on, as we all discover when we're driving behind tractors. Farmers are quite merrily and might look at the mirror the odd time, but it was the 80s 90s.
Now the tractors would
no
just brush
rear
your hair for you.
yeah,
They do everything.
Yeah, self-propelled.
Yeah.
So there's something nice about that cocoon, which I'd love to recreate.
Yeah.
I still have the tractor symbol on my driver's license.
Oh yeah, do you?
Work
Cool.
vehicle and you can drive that a little earlier than a car. I think is it 16, 17,
16,
isn't it? Yeah.
Do we not all have that, or does it take them off?
I think you have to select it yourself.
Oh, you
Oh,
do.
you have to
yeah,
select-
Yeah.
Because I
At the
remember having
beginning.
that on my first license.
Okay, you should check now.
I should check, yeah.
Yeah. It'd be nice to have that little tractor symbol.
But
there.
I'll probably still have it if I had it from the start.
Yeah, I presume unless you've just forgot along the way, which people do, to add that bit.
We have a compound tractor. Has all the bits, but it's like a small little John Deere.
Oh
John Deere.
yeah, it's the one that you can drive across a golf course with the soft
In
wheels.
your-
No,
Privilege.
no. It's not. No, it does have soft wheels on it, but it,
No,
but,
no.
It, but it has all the hydraulics in the back and stuff like that. So
Oh,
it does,
right, okay.
it does the whole kit and caboodle. Then we have a gator.
PTO and the whole
Yeah,
lot.
so that one is
Quickie
like-
loader. That's
yeah.
what you want. That's the real challenge. Because the old International we originally had, you had to bring it to a total stop to change down the gears. So you could go up the gears, obviously, all the way to fourth.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'll start that one again. There we go. This water
yeah,
is
cool.
potable, isn't it? Irrelevant tractor conversation. That's enough for tractor, isn't it? I just realised. No, I don't need to describe how to go down a manual steering.
I was thinking the farmers will
Manual
love
levers.
this. The farmers will love this.
That's true too, of course.
So just continue with that little bit.
No, but do you know when you're working on a farm though, it's like, was there a time that your mum always had the lunch on the dinner table?
Well, we never call it lunch. Dinner.
Dinner, yeah. Dinner
time.
at lunchtime, yeah.
Dinner time is what you call it.
Yeah.
Is like around the 1 o'clock mark.
And when you had to be there at 1
we had
o'clock,
tea.
was it?
Oh, you did, yeah. But your body is in clockwork. You know, you've had
Yeah.
your breakfast, a second breakfast as well after
Yeah.
the milking because you've had a kind of an early
What would
morning.
second breakfast be?
It would just a little bit bigger. There'd be cereal just for the first thing
Yeah.
to get you out,
Yeah.
and then you'd have a longer tea. There might be an egg thrown in, or definitely toast and things like that, and it might get a little bit fancier depending on the time of the year or how much time you had. And then you go out. You needed the calories.
You
There
did,
was no
yeah,
point
yeah,
in having
yeah.
dinner at the end of the day, to keep going. So 1 o'clock was dinner, but it was very regimental. It would be she would have it ready, and you would be gone within 25, half an hour maximum, yeah. And then with the silage during the year, and I was laughing at the ploughing because now you can get these €500,000 mowers that'll just do all of your farm.
Yeah, do it all
silage
for you.
done in an hour.
Yeah.
And,
It's all
well,
contracted as well.
it
Pretty
is,
much,
yeah, it is for sure. It's the only way they can get the money back. And we didn't have a huge farm, but it would take 4 or 5 days to cut the silage. So you'd have men coming in, they'd have to be fed in the morning. They'd come in for their dinner, stop everything, and then you'd bring tea out to them in the field, which is a basket, and there was like baked goods and stuff. They loved coming to our
So
house.
was this silage? So they were silage pits then you were doing back then.
Silage pits, yeah.
You weren't wrapping the.
Well, no,
the
we
hay.
would have done that a bit later, and maybe the second cut was baled and wrapped. But it would have been silage pits, yeah. And sometimes the silage pits would be reopened and the second cut go on top of it.
Yeah.
But you see the silage pits still
Yeah.
around the place for sure. And obviously it's all chopped up and much easier now, but there would be like single chop silage harvesters. So like graping that when you're on the silage pit, as you would be as a kid, with a buck rake coming at you, which is like kind of like Braveheart, loads of spikes, and it's part of the fun.
It's lethal.
You might have
though.
to
It's
jump
like,
off the pit to get out of the way because the fella on the tractor's so exhausted he doesn't see you anymore.
Yeah.
And sometimes there'd be acid even thrown in while they're cutting the silage to kind of break
it
down.
down.
Great days.
But it's
And great smells.
but it's a genius.
But you would get you like the cousins I would have from urban places would come in thinking the smell of the farm is gross and go, but there's a
love
lovely
that
sweet
smell."
smell of silage. And they wouldn't detect the sweetness. You go,
right.
we know when it's rotten, it doesn't smell good, and that's when it's like, oh my God, it's
it's a
gone
sweet
bad.
smell.
But there was a sweetness to it, and steam would literally come out.
And did your mum, with the
December.
milk, because it was unhomogenized and because it was coming straight,
Yeah.
was she skimming off the top for the cream and then whipping
Yeah,
that
for
and stuff
sure.
like that?
Yeah, and I actually remember if my father had done too much work because he was also plastering sometimes and also just like farming, he would get like he'd feel weak or whatever. That he had, I suppose, the hunger pang, and he would dip in a mug into the warm milk in the milk tank, and it would revive him. It would revive him to finish
Lovely,
to finish the milking and so on. And it was just full of all the nutrients and everything we needed.
Yeah, but I remember as a kid growing up, and it's like we used to get the bottle of milk delivered to the door.
Yeah.
And very posh, wasn't it? And it was, sorry. But,
You're allowed that
No,
one.
no.
That's okay, yeah.
but
He won that.
the milk was always separated. It wasn't homogenized. The cream always went to the top.
Yes, yes.
And then the
yeah.
birds used to come and pick the top,
little-
the
Way
foil
to get
top
the cream.
to get at the cream.
Yeah.
So you had to make sure you got out quick. And then, actually, this is like lethal. This is it's a two-pronged story. So it becomes alcohol and cream, milk. You used to go into the fridge and skim off the top of the cream to go in on top of your cornflakes.
Really?
Yeah, it was just because it was like cream on top of your cornflakes. And mum and dad used to go nuts because they were left with the skim milk.
Yeah.
So,
It's nothing.
so we used to do the same with alcohol. We used to skim off the top of the alcohol and fill it up with water.
That's the same job. That's how you learned it from the milk. What would be the harm in having milk with a bit of cream floating on the top now? It's just
Oh no, it's gorgeous.
doesn't happen.
Yeah,
It's like you can't
So
get it.
you used to have to shake the bottle.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
homogenize
yeah.
it
So
yourself.
would bring it
Basically, is
all
what you're
together.
doing. Yeah. So
So it's totally, but it never separates at all. The
No.
stuff you buy.
no, it never separates unless you're getting like farm milk or whatever. It still does because it's homogenized in the co-op.
But even as kids, we'd kind of go. We'd have a big drum at the bottom of the fridge, which was the milk.
Yeah.
that came from the dairy farm. And the odd time, summertime, you go, oh, there's like a fly in it or something, you know, floating around. Mothers just whip it out and go, there you are.
Yeah.
If you're hungry and you want tea, you're going to have it. That was it.
And were your mum and dad so proud of you when you got the big job?
Well, we've always been very measured in our house of never talking too much about what I do, weirdly. And obviously, she will always say, I'm proud of all of my children.
Yeah.
We all know. Like,
I know. That middle child.
But my mum has a scrapbook on me of all the clippings. No, I'm joking.
That sounds like a file. Like a
No, I know,
spy
yeah,
or
fine.
something.
It's like, look at my son, look at my son. Look what he's done.
Very good.
But it's a rivalry between the kids,
No, because we all do such different things. My brother stayed around Monaghan. I left. My sister went to Galway. My little sister went to Dublin eventually as well. And because she's almost a different generation with 11 years between us, there is a kind of strange thing that we're all kind of interested in each other's
That's great.
lifestyles, because it's like, it's different, you know.
That's
my
brilliant.
brother has the 2 kids who are you know, into GA and running and all that sort of stuff and machines and all that. And my sister's in Galway with her more bookish little kids, even though they're only toddlers, but they are really mad into book. And she's an older kid. My sister has a lovely spectrum of life going on, because she's got a 26-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old. So she's the big foodie in the house, Clara, the older one. So we have that kind of broad spectrum across the place.
And do you get together for Christmas as a big family?
We do. It
how does
gets
that work?
harder, obviously, as the kids arrive and so on. It gets harder and harder. And lockdown, I think, has severed a lot of traditions like that.
Yeah.
But we do, at some points, get together for things. And it's always around food. But like, you know, my death row meal will always be Mammy Callan's Christmas Day dinner.
Yeah, exactly.
And I
What
think
is that?
What
is it?
Well, it's turkey, and it was always our own turkeys.
So what was the stuffing?
The stuffing was my father's speciality, which my mother would complain about, going, how much butter is he putting into it?
I'm a farmer.
Batch loaf.
Okay.
We could get in Carrickmacross,
Yeah.
you know, not
Yeah,
the non-sliced version. My job is to cut all the crusts off with the electric knife.
Oh, yeah.
Cube it all and put it in the liquidizer to make the bread crumbs.
Yeah.
And it'd have to go a little bit stale, I think. Wasn't that the thing? Yeah, that was the idea, the slightly stale batch loaf.
Yeah, 1 or 2 days old.
And then, like, you know...
Sage, onion.
chopped up onion, and
Sage,
no
loads of
sage.
butter.
It was mostly parsley,
And thyme.
salt and pepper. I don't think we had thyme. Now they would put thyme in it, but no, they didn't. And they cooked a lot of it inside the turkey, and there'd be so much extra that we also cooked separately.
Cooked in a tin foil.
Pyrex and tin foil, and opened up to let it crisp at the end.
And then what type of
that is the
turkey
big
would your
thing.
mum buy?
They were always the white turkey, not the bronze turkey, so
Yeah.
they're kind of bigger, and they were home slaughtered. Was
Home
the term?
reared,
Because
home
my
reared and
father
slaughtered.
was in a theory, and you will see it when you buy bought turkey, that you'll see streaks through the meat sometimes, you know, little blood, whereas we just had totally clean meat. And her secret has always been to slightly undercook the turkey, because it's such a lean meat that
And it's such a healthy meat to eat.
yeah.
Huge. It's the highest form of protein you can actually get is from turkey.
Even when you get the edge, or, you know, the skin, the first cut, like the fat is negligible, isn't it? There's
it is,
almost nothing.
totally,
It's
yeah.
like so
Yeah,
that's
particularly if it's reared at home and stuff like that. It's different because it's not fattened. So
that's right.
It's
Stuffing gets
natural.
better as well a few days in, doesn't it? Is
yeah,
that
yeah,
just
yeah.
the kind of juices or something?
Well,
that's happening?
but it works both ways, because when you put the stuffing in, the steam of the bread, and because the moisture of the bread and all the flavours coming up through the breasts and through the legs, so you're getting the flavour coming through,
That's
and
the
then
idea.
as it matures
Cooking
and
it in
when
there.
it cools down, it comes back, and then the
Right.
juices of the turkey comes back into the
It
stuffing.
is always more
so
moist.
you're 100% right,
It
but
is,
that's
yeah.
the reason why it's happening.
And the
And
turkey
ham.
gravy is ham as well, of course.
What was the glaze on it?
Oh, the glaze again, father's speciality.
There you
Which
go. See,
whatever alcohol
if you
is
keep
it?
digging, you find it. Everybody's got a job at Christmas.
Yeah, and it's like the brown sugar cider whiskey. I think he's changed it over the years. He's quite modernised. Probably watching you guys see on television, but it was always the nice kind of what do you call the mesh or crisscross cuts
criss,
through
the
through the
trellis
fat,
or whatever,
and a clove in
Clove,
each
yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
in each
Yeah.
of the corners, and then it would just look really, really gorgeous.
It's,
Oh
the,
my
it's
God,
the king.
it's
It's the king of the table for me anyway. So it's,
The ham for you.
it's the
I always think the turkey gravy and the stuffing are kind of the winning bits.
So tell me about the gravy.
Well, it's just constantly she cooked the turkey in tin foil.
Yeah.
So the outer bit of the tin foil, that's not the water is obviously around and not touching. She would scoop out the laborious job, which I've done myself since, but obviously using the what you call it? The
You didn't have one of them, did you?
we didn't have those. She was always doing with the dessert spoon, which I
Do you
don't know
one
how
of
she
those
didn't
things,
tear
the squeezy little
I
things?
know, dude, because I can't do the baster.
I know.
Just suck it
I
out.
can't think of the name
Because
of
if
it.
I use a spoon, I'll cut the tin foil and the water will come in. So she'd get the juice, cool it sufficiently so you could skim the fat off that, and then it would end up in a pot, which would go for hours with onions and everything we added in. I presume a
smell.
soup mix or gravy mix might be added to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But just that is. Oh,
And
we-
roasties.
turkey gravy on anything.
Roasties.
And roasties, of course.
Mashed potato.
Mashed potato was always there, but I always avoided it because I always thought it was too much.
Right.
And then with all this lovely home cooked food that we all loved and everything made, and so the stuff we've grown and fed and slaughtered ourselves, there would just be randomly frozen croquettes, which would come from the fat fryer
That's so funny.
in the shed. Yeah.
They're coming back. They're back.
Back in fashion.
In
Yeah.
fashion.
They never went out of fashion on
In
a
your
Callan
house.
family Christmas. There was apparently as a kid I used to like cut the top off it and eat it with the back end of a small spoon to scoop out the cooked mash.
And
My
then
mother's
just eat
sitting there going, this
we
is
eat the
great.
batter at the end then. So
Yeah, it's on its
yeah,
own, yes.
on
It's
its
a
own.
nice little crumb bit. And then we after the kind of dinner, you could dip it in the gravy.
You weren't one of those kids that separated the food on the plate, were you?
No, I wasn't so much, no. I probably would have eaten it separately.
Okay.
But yeah, gotta know. We'll talk to a psychologist about that another time.
And what about Christmas pudding?
Christmas pudding was definitely there. Always served with custard.
Yeah.
More recent years, I noticed some fancy gelatos and ice
right.
creams being added in, but it was always kind of custard. And again, the Christmas dinner was so huge that dessert wouldn't be until a few hours later. 'Cause everyone would
We
just-
only ate Christmas pudding in our house when my granddad was there, because as kids you just didn't like it. And he used to, and it was when we were over in the UK, and he was the only guy that found the money in the Christmas pudding. Right? Because there was money in the Christmas pudding, and it was always the latest coin that was out that year. It was like when the money was changing, the 50p and the 20p and stuff like that. And inevitably he'd be eating, and you had to eat the pudding in order to get the coin. Inevitably he would get in and be clapping, and suddenly it's flutter, and out comes the coin, and
Very
every
good.
kid around the table used to get a coin. So but you had to eat the pudding. Catherine loves Christmas pudding.
I much prefer it over a Christmas cake. I still
Do you,
do.
yeah?
Yeah,
Always
it's
did,
much
yeah.
nicer.
Even though it's kind of, the substance of it is similar in ways, isn't it? I mean, I don't know why. Is it just the...
It's more
moistness
moist, and then
of it?
isn't it lovely with a drop of cream and heated, I suppose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
It's really warming.
Yeah.
And the smell, you get that smell
Smell,
again.
the bit of
It
the
goes back to the
alcohol.
smell.
It's nearly a shame as you grow up and climate change and everything that, Christmas is so warm now that you probably would have felt the benefits of it more, like back Fado when Christmases would be freezing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we would often have to go across the fields around
we'd be
Christmas time
having
because you'd have
best
sucklers
weathers.
who would be left out in the field.
Yeah.
And you'd have to break the ice on the drinking baths so they could
Wow.
get water.
No way.
That's
Whereas you
very-
would never do that now.
You
There's
never
no
do that now.
all our frost nights have sort of started to disappear, and it's just
Yeah.
windier and milder.
So
Because you're
back
15
then,
degrees on a Christmas day. It's
did you have
sometimes
pipe
hard
water
to-
to the troughs then?
we did, because it's out in, as people forget in this country, the water schemes is how people organise their own water. Communities came together. So
Yeah.
we never had to draw water. My parents would talk about having a well, and I would carry the water. It was always women and children that carried it. But you're talking about like when they were growing up, 50s and 60s and so on. But by the 70s, there was group water schemes, certainly around Malin anyway. Maybe we're a little bit more advanced in parts of the country.
I worked for Jim Bulger, the horse trainer. As a
okay.
jockey
Oh, right. Yeah,
when I was 16.
Did you?
Yeah, for a summer job. And so basically you were given, in the morning you were given 8 horses. They were yours for the day. And basically you mucked them out, you cleaned them, you rode them.
8.
And but at the time, there was no such thing as piped water into the stables, and you were carrying buckets of water
Oh my
to the
gosh,
stables
that
to feed.
got you nice
feed
and
the
fit for the
horses.
summer.
Yeah. So it was interesting times.
God, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
There were an odd farmer around the place that would have, land off the road where the group water scheme hadn't gone. So they would have big barrels on the back of a transport box and a tractor and have to drive it up every single day. But I'd say they kind of love the ritual of that as well, because they'd go up the laneways and meet somebody.
Yeah, I think
up there.
they prefer the ritual when they just turn the tap on. Now.
I think they prefer that, all right.
Yeah.
And is there a tradition at Christmas that you love that makes you, the one thing that you do that you're going, oh, it's Christmas now? You have. And 'cause
It's terrible. I'm straight away, even as you're saying that, I'm going, don't say it. I'm just thinking, brandy and Baileys mixed together. I'm too red in the face to drink brandy at any other time of the year. But it's like, we're allowed that time of the year. And in recent years, we talk about it, and it very much became a Christmas Eve tradition where it's like brandy and Baileys, where, you're coming home late or whatever from Dublin. You don't have time to catch up with everyone else until that's what brandies and Baileys will do. And it's like alcohol, mixed with alcohol. What could go wrong?
Yeah.
But the thing about it, like Bailey's is a whiskey cream, isn't it?
Yeah.
The base is whiskey.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I've started mixing it now with a bit of whiskey instead. And I always
Oh,
find
yeah.
this seems to go
That's
better.
okay.
I
But
think
only a
if they're
little
telling
bit.
us the
Well,
truth,
it's interesting is
that
that
there's
because
whiskey in it.
Bailey's currently Bailey started off with whiskey and cream, but now it's an alcohol and flavors and cream. Where if you look at the five farms, what's the name of that? You know, the beautiful blue bottle.
The Cool Swan.
No, the cool one is coconut. That's excellent as well. But that's
another one.
it's from Cork.
Oh, the blue. Are you talking about the blue bottle of gin?
what's that?
The gin?
No, it's an
Oh,
Irish
from Cork.
whiskey
Oh, yes,
cream,
okay.
and they're actually using it's 5 farms got together and they put in a whiskey
Oh, is that
together.
right? Oh, my
It's
God.
unbelievable.
Oh,
good.
that could be the new.
It's unbelievably good.
Because we'd switch
5
the
farms,
Cool
like.
Swan.
Cool Swan's delicious. I love it. I use
Support
it.
our friends in Cavan.
That's it. Yep.
So
no
we'll have to
choice.
watch out for the 5 farms, especially if it's Cork. Obviously, the men
is
would be
Cork,
very
yeah.
interested in that.
Yeah. Your figures are amazing. Well done in the morning, and I love listening to you. It's really good to
Thanks
hear
very
you.
much.
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
inherit a good listenership from Morning Ireland, so it's like the job is just don't make a mess of this.
Yeah.
where
Do
possible.
you
but-
think about it or just do it? I mean, do you go? You can't
well,
think about it too
well,
much.
I hate the way you guys in the print media talk about our ratings. We never talk about yours. And I mean, and there's a lot more to be done because
course.
like it is public service broadcasting, and that's
Yeah.
first and foremost what we're supposed to do. And sometimes we get caught up ourselves going, "Oh, will this help the figures?" We go, "Well, that's not always the job."
Definitely.
You're always supposed to shed a light on stories that wouldn't ordinarily get that kind of high-profile slot. So we kind of try to measure things like that as well.
Well, I
But
counteract
obviously
that by saying,
advertisers-
counteract by that saying that isn't that lovely? That's great. Like,
It's good, yeah, but
Yeah.
of course, talk to me the next time when they inevitably will bounce up and down through the trajectory of anyone's career, and they do. And it is also a survey that's conducted door to door, which I've only I used to.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
Somebody
is
started
it?
asking,
Yeah.
going, how are the figures calculated?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
TV, they literally have a device where they sample a crowd and they know exactly what they're watching minute by minute. Whereas on in radio, they just go door to door every week, except for 2 weeks of Christmas, and they ask people, what did you listen to yesterday?
Wow.
And rather than names of shows, I think they kind of say, you know,
did you listen to?
between this time, it was kind of time, and they'll say
That
Radio
station or
1,
whatever.
and so on. So that's how it works,
I
basically.
didn't know
So
Yeah.
that. I
That's why
assumed
it
that they were like
fluctuates
exactly
so
like the
wildly.
TV little gadget in a radio. Or,
I know you would. I think most people assume that. Figures are quite good in Britain because they've more or less entirely switched to digital broadcasting, whereas we're still very happy with
halfway through.
FM in Ireland because DAB is not going to work in valleys and on top of hills and
yeah,
stuff.
it's true. Well, maybe soon.
But no, I mean, it's good to have that. Obviously, taking over a show from someone who's massively famous in the country for 25 years, you're going, you know, people don't know me at all as well. So you're thinking they could go elsewhere. There are other people. So it was kind of good to know that they've stuck around.
really
and
nice.
increased,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so
That's really
good.
cool.
But I also hate the fact that we have to watch figures. I never had to do that.
Yeah, I know. I
'Cause
know,
Cal's
yeah.
Kicks
And we
was a
all say
seasonal
things
show.
like Radio Wars and all
Yes, I know.
this.
Yeah. There's a picture of our head with an arrow going up and down, and I already had one of those earlier in the year, which was even like showing figures had gone down, even though I wasn't even on air for some
yes.
of it. But you don't be moaning about these things because you just have to get on with it. And
Yes, and I'm sure you got lots of texts when you got the job. Did you get any texts from somebody like surprising people? I'm sure, or maybe they don't have your number.
when I got the job, a surprise. Yeah, that's a good question. I did, and I had to spend a day or two in the office kind of sitting down and replying to people and nice cards. And in fact, there are some people I still haven't got around to because I have physical cards I've started writing and I never got around to finishing.
Yeah.
Because it's still all new in my head,
Yeah.
even though it's like the best part of 3/4 of a year or whatever it is at this stage.
Yeah.
But that was really nice, yeah, because you don't get those kind of things when you're just used to being in the media and then suddenly you get a job. Part of that was kind of freaking me out a little bit, going, oh my God, there's a responsibility here. The people are, you know,
I have to
expecting
show up
things.
tomorrow.
Yeah. And it's just one of those kind of rare slots that still exist.
Yeah.
Radio is strange compared to all the other media because everything has almost declined because of social media, whereas the radio figures for that morning slot are still pretty much exactly as they were when Marion Finucane was doing it 25 years
Isn't that
ago.
amazing?
Which
It
took
was a
off.
great medium, though.
That's
It's
so
a
cool.
great way of expressing yourself on radio. I love radio. I just love being on radio over TV, bizarrely.
It's like people having conversations, family members, people who know each other really well will have serious conversations in the car, facing away from each other.
Yeah.
And there's a cocoon effect inside a car as well.
Yeah,
You've got a duvet over your head or something, and you're kind of sharing secrets, and you don't realize there's a group of people out there listening. And radio is one of those things where everyone is always doing something, and yet we're able to concentrate at the same time. Whereas TV, you focus. If you get up at all or move or look at your phone, you're gone. Whereas radio, you can kind of potter around your kitchen and still concentrate on it. And it's particularly when you get stories that I get nervous about, because it's someone who isn't famous. They're telling a harrowing story about we've had a rape case, we've had domestic violence, and you go, oh, we really have to get this right now, and we have to make sure that this person knows what they're getting themselves in for, because there's going to be a response and so on. And the reason they want to do is to get that message out there because they've heard something like that themselves, and it's sort of helped them. And they're the kind of days you go, oh, we're doing good stuff here, and this is when the figures don't matter. But it's also the time when people really tune in and discover something. I was talking to the Canadian ambassador to Ireland, who's just left the country, and I said, what did you learn in your 4 or 5 years while you were here? And she just said, there's an incredible sense of community in Ireland. And she says, I know you're probably thinking, you kind of assume that's like every kind of country and counties and provinces and so on. She said there's just something, she'd been around the world at various posts, she's retiring now, and she just said, in Canada we're very proud of being Canadians, we wear maple leaves, we talk about hockey, we do all those kind of cliche things. She says, but we don't really get together we don't feel like one group when things like Olympics happen. And she was just blown away by the fact that we were able to just joyfully celebrate them, also have a bit of crack with it, and jokingly refer to how different these Olympics were in Ireland this year, because he had confident young people. You're always supposed to play it down and go, we did very well. Whereas you tell your people going, I'm brilliant, I'm going to win medals, and I'm going to win all the medals, I'm very happy. And then I'm happy I won, and Rhys McClenaghan and Kelly and all these people doing it for them, and just going, this is un-Irish confidence, and we're actually liking this now.
It was brilliant.
And I thought it was remarkable when you hear an outsider saying, oh my God, this thing that we have, even though it's 7 million people on the island, and we have different walks of life and huge different subcultures and everything, there are moments when we do feel like one people, don't we?
As a nation. Where in comparison, I lived in Canada for 7 years. Canada was beautiful people, but everything was arranged.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So you'd never be driving past someone's house and go up and knock on the door and say, how's it going? Let's have a drink, or let's have a glass of wine. Yeah. You'd have to wait for the appointment to be issued. But beautiful people, lovely people.
I always wonder, is that a country thing in Ireland as well? There's the Dublin people. Did you have that spontaneity growing up where you'd knock on doors?
Definitely. There's always people in our house. The door was always open. Of people coming in and out.
But I presume that was an estate of some kind.
Yeah. We were,
Imagine.
Yeah, it was like.
So we were people in the mansions went to each other, Kevin.
264C Park. So I was like in an estate, a house in an estate. Just to clarify, everybody.
Kevin Dundon's estate, different to a Shane Ross estate, different things.
Yeah.
And you miss, well, you don't, you do plenty of comedy, and you're a political animal.
It's still a good question, because I do worry that, oh my God, am I not doing as much comedy? Certainly not able to do as much live work.
Yeah.
But Callan's Kicks is coming back now for the autumn.
Great.
And I'm very excited about that, because obviously we've got an election season in America and here. And there's also the seasonal nature of Callan's Kicks, where it's 12 weeks in the spring, 12 weeks in the autumn, means that since so much has happened in the summer, the cast of people we focused on last April are totally different.
More so this year than ever.
More so than ever. Yeah. And it's really important when you're doing comedy and doing impressions of real people, you're kind of stuck with whatever main cast you have.
Yeah.
And you hope that it turns around every couple of years. And it feels like we've been stuck with the same kind of people for a very long time. We just like Trump, Boris, Leo Varadkar there for ages and ages and ages. And now it feels like a completely different world all of a sudden.
So that's really exciting. Who do you love doing from the new world? Is there
Simon Harris.
Well, Simon Harris is amazing, because he can watch really fast. The only difficult thing is to make sure you can write very quick. You can't even write a script for him, because if you write a script, you're not going to have 2 writing words and I'm going to leave now. As the vibe as well is great, isn't it? Not hang around, no substance here, vibes only. And if you don't like it, block, block, block. I think it's really, really important. I love when he gets very serious.
I'm going to stay with my TikTok.
TikTok. And I like when he gets really, really serious, and he tries to talk really, really seriously, but he still will end up speeding up at the end. And we're going to do whatever we can in the country. I'm going to keep talking before any questions come by. I'm gone.
It's brilliant. It's great.
Really enjoying it.
Yeah.
Also, he's becoming really popular now.
He's
That
great,
is really
though.
good for my job.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing Leo Varadkar so long, and like I thought we were good at that. And we can say proudly now, after the Confident Irish Olympics people, I thought we did a good job when Leo was really popular of kind of showing the real Leo.
Yeah,
And kind of
yeah.
snapping, and people didn't like it, and it gives an edge to the show. But when the world kind of finds out that he's not so popular, they don't, he became unpopular.
Yeah.
And like everybody was bored of Leo. I was bored of doing Leo. Leo got bored of Leo, and he had to knife himself in the end to get out of the job. And I was like so relieved, because it's like, that's flogging a dead horse.
Yeah.
Someone who's
Time
not going
to
to win
move
an
on.
election, not going to be back. And then suddenly you've got the Simon Harris.
I
And
nearly
although
thought you
policy
didn't
hasn't
like Leo
changed.
now. I would have thought you didn't like Leo.
Well, you see, that's
Personally.
the thing that people get confused, because
Yeah.
you're only taking on someone politically.
Yeah.
And mostly because they're popular.
Yeah.
But no, like I don't. Like I was even invited to events and stuff with Lee, and I never wanted to. Like if I got to like him, then I'd probably go the other way to make sure no one thought I was being biased in that favour.
Yeah.
Do you know, maybe if I hated him, I probably would have been a bit lighter on him, because you don't want to think people have that you have a vendetta. And we say this to our team all the time, that it's important to have opinions so long as you don't have an agenda.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's
you've got to
perfect,
have
yeah.
to look at the balance. I mean, Leo Varadkar complained a lot to RT about things we're saying on the 9 o'clock show even this year, and on Callan's Kicks as well. Whereas I actually got quite a nice letter from Simon Harris during the summer.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those moments going, oh no, I'm going to get to like this guy. So I'm probably going to be really hard on him now for the autumn as a result of the beautiful letter. Very nice, decent, sound thing that he did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I presume they sometimes take things personally as journalists. We
Ah,
know.
sure, yeah.
Whereas I just have to carry on and just do your job, and you're there to serve the wider audience. And also, Callan Kicks, I think, has a public service to it as well, because we try to pick out stories that people forget. You know, like the homeless figures will always be just announced randomly on a Friday, and housing debates get stuck on one thing, whereas you forget. Like a thing I love doing with Darragh O'Brien, who's kind of like, was he still? We always think he's Colin Meaney, basically, in every Roddy Doyle film that he's done. A1 Sharon, and like the figures are great, targets are met, now job done, let's all go
Move
for
on.
pints. I was like, well, hang on a second, when you miss a target in the first year, does the surplus missing not get added to year 2? No is the answer. They just set the clock
Move on.
number at 0 again, on we
Here
go.
we
So you
go.
can go, yeah, we've hit the targets 2024. And it's just having to point out all of these things that kind of, it's like revision classes for
Oh
scandal.
yeah,
I think,
absolutely,
so
and keep
we
people
call it
interested,
sometimes.
because it does keep people, makes it more interesting for people.
And only in Ireland, with such a tiny market, to have a niche show, which is Callan's Kicks,
Yeah.
more or less a podcast, because 6:30 on a Friday, it doesn't get whopper
Yeah.
radio figures, so they listen to it when they're walking on the weekend. It's just, we're so rabidly obsessed with current affairs.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of extraordinary that we get people to listen to this thing at all. And
But I think Americans are intrigued about our political playing field
to
here.
the extent they
'Cause
ever
don't
know about
understand
it.
it. They don't
Yeah,
understand
that's
it because, like in America, you're either a Democrat or a Republican.
yeah.
And here you
Well, if
can
you
be-
tell them that most of our news comes from a government, owned organization, media organization, they go, what?
What?
That's communism.
Yeah.
That's just absolutely
Yeah.
insane. And in Ireland, we forget how much politics we consume, because here in America, you only consume American politics. You don't have to care about smaller countries. If you're Brit, you're following British politics and also the American stuff. So they kind of here we're doing kind of everything, because the Brits have such an impact on us, European Union affairs and American politics. So the fact that we have audiences in Ireland that will kind of feed this enormous political conversation we constantly have is just like, it's remarkable. It really is. Like, we're very well informed.
Very well informed. Yeah, no people.
Which is great. And our kids are too. My
And the kids are
yeah,
too,
they're
and interested.
amazing what they're talking
And there's
about.
no shortage of people going into Fine Gael, young Fine Gael, and Ogre Fianna Fáil, and
Not
Ogre
one
Sinn
of Sundays
Féin.
would I go near it.
Obviously, the people of
obviously.
privilege
Don't need to.
barely voted to the so unaffected. I love the theme. The theme of this conversation. It's just an attack on your background.
There you go. I'm glad you got
There you
something on me.
go. Yeah. I wanted to ask you once before we go on to our quick bite section. Then,
Yeah. Oh, yes.
of the people you've interviewed in the last, what did you say, 3/4 of a year?
Yeah, since February. Yeah,
Since
It's the
February.
end of
So,
January.
is there anybody that that stands out? I know you interviewed Graham Norton recently about his
Yeah,
book.
I
Is there
suppose that-
anybody you kind of?
Yeah, I mean, two people really stand out for me. Maeve O'Loughlin Doyle, who is the woman who's was married to a Garda, and he was jailed for 10 decades for 12 years of torment and physical violence and abuse. And she was so articulate and in her description of it, almost blasé, because her years of hell were like just became very mundane for her, you know, including broken bones and just constant constant fear. And obviously, when your tormenting partner is a guard, where do you go to? She was incredible, and she was so hopeful and cheerful as well in her kind of outlook. You know, having gone through all of that, and just the sheer relief of being free and so on, and just really inspiring. And she wanted to share the story because she was at home one day and she heard the story of Clodagh Haw in Cavan, who was murdered by a husband and their children. He murdered their children as well. And remember, initially people were kind of going, oh, he was a good man in the parish, and they'd almost forgotten her. And it was her mum was saying that she wanted to leave, and she told them she was leaving. And that was the bit that went, oh my God, this is the most terrifying part for a victim of domestic violence. If they go, I'm going to leave and I'm going to tell him.
Yes.
That isn't the worst possible thing to do. So from hearing that on the radio, she went to Women's Aid. They said, absolutely, thank you for coming to us, and we'll help you get the exit, and you do not tell your abusive partner you're leaving. And so that's why she decided to share her story. And it's quite a thing to give up your privacy like that. Yeah. And for people to know your name and everyone who in your life who knows you. And this is like a big part of your story now. And she's able to embrace that, which was very powerful. We had Bláthnaid Raleigh as well from Mullingar, who was raped by a rugby player in her early 20s, and her whole family were so affected because it took 5 years for the trial to come.
And her brothers played.
And the brothers were playing in the rugby team, which is why she trusted him in a house party situation, and they had to move club and not say anything to anyone for 5 years. And you know, this begins when she's in her early 20s. Extraordinary stories. And again, there seems to have been something happened in 2024 where women waived their privacy rights and their right to kind of, you know, build their lives quietly without anyone being able to Google her name and attach that story, the horror to it. And again, it was just sort of there's a courage and a purpose to help other people by telling the story. But in most cases, unfortunately, nothing's been done about these huge delays for really sensitive cases like that. But I mean, we see cases in England happen all the time, very serious, and suddenly the trial happens within a couple of months.
You'd be surprised.
You're not sitting around for 5 years.
Yeah.
Is that because they're high-profile cases, or do you think it's in general?
No, it's just we have just institutional issues in Ireland which date back to years of patronage.
No, I'm talking about in the UK.
In the UK, I think it's just an efficient system. You know, they're very good at sacking people as well. Yeah. I think they've just gone through scandals quicker than us back in the 60s, Profumo and all those kind of things. So they've got like fast-tracked all the... because we're a smaller country, we theoretically should be able to do these things much quicker. Yeah. And even per capita and everything like that, we have wealthier systems because in England they have obviously tons and tons of judges, and they're not all... in the system they are. So I don't know why that is, but like, because you like to bring the stories when it has a purpose and a meaning, and you wish it would do something, but you know, there are a lot of conversations going on all the time, but it definitely does have an impact, and maybe it's because it's an election year. We're having these conversations, and it really did affect, particularly that army case. It wasn't our interview, and people started looking more closely, didn't they? The people who look after Irish people, you know, they're responsible for safety and the justice and security of the country, and going, oh, there are scandals happening there too, and they will trickle down eventually, you know. And one of the biggest changes we've had this year is that there's now a dedicated domestic violence state agency in the country called Callan, which I think is the Irish for harbour, if I'm not mistaken, and that will surely help things. But the housing crisis lingers over everything, doesn't it? And there's no problem it can't make worse than obviously women and kids. It's predominantly women, it's not always entirely, but it's predominantly women and children. They need somewhere to go for that shelter, and when you've got an accommodation crisis, it exacerbates every conceivable issue. The
whole issue, absolutely. Yeah. You know,
but we do have crack on the show as well.
Yeah, of course.
And in fairness, we had a laugh even with people like Bláthnaid and Maeve, because when I've heard these stories all my life, and I always think that sometimes we forget to tell people, who is this person, what were they interested in, and what were their likes and loves, and what do they do now. And it was good to hear Bláthnaid at the end. She loved horses and everything, and she's back, she's got her life back, and able to go to concerts and, you know, feel her safety back again, you know. So there is always kind of hope in these stories, and that's kind of the most important bit of it. And then the reaction from listeners is just incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I think the most thing I've learned from just even the couple of months doing it is I thought I kind of had Ireland sussed out, and then we have like our little boxes, the ploughing people, the GA people, the rugby crowd, private schools, and we've got subculture in the north and multiple subcultures there, and then there's Cork, and then when you just realise we are bits of everything, you know. You're talking about addiction services, you talk about people in the public services who do brilliant things. You know, I think the arts and culture in county councils are incredible, and they manage to do brilliant stuff, that because we talk so much about crises and problems, we forget about services that function. We had a great discussion about probation services, because sometimes in the media we discuss about, oh, they're getting off light, they're getting out early, and that's it. But probation services, are on probation, it's not freedom. And it's it's quite punishing, but it's mostly to do with rehabilitation. So all of those factors go on, you know, and they're all little subtexts and little lines in the lasagna of Ireland.
Yeah, but even like
the
the preschool and post-school of for kids that are picked up in the morning, and people will actually go into people's homes and take the kids out and give them breakfast and make sure they get to school, and then pick them up from school and educate
homework
them out.
clubs,
Homework clubs,
and more
brilliant.
house calls, which we thought were all kind of over, that no one
I
from the
thought
state ever gets
I
into
came
your
across
house.
it there a few months ago. I was doing something, and I was totally shocked. I thought that was a thing of the past.
Yeah.
It's certainly not. It's vibrant.
No, it still works. And
Yeah,
social
and it
workers,
works brilliantly.
care workers. And
Yeah.
the fact that we have people who have the vocation to do these jobs, I'm always amazed. You know, I go, are we going to run out of nurses one day, where people just go, how will they volunteer to do these jobs? They're not going to become rich. They're going to go home tired, but they absolutely love.
And come here, when you went in on the tractor to collect your leaving cert results, did you go home happy?
I did, I suppose. I think I was really proud, particularly of getting an A1 in history, because
Yes.
I didn't have a history class. Because you had to pick between French and history, and you had to do French to get a third language to go into university. I presume that rule is gone now. Maybe
No,
it's not.
it's still there.
It's still there, is it?
Not French, but it's
So
modern
clash
language.
with history. So I went, well, I'm going to have to do French, which means I can't do history, which I love. So I'll just do it at home alone myself. And that's
That's
what I did,
amazing.
yeah. And I did it in 1 year. I did it in this Leaving Cert year as well, because like really it was about reading. And,
So interesting, yeah.
but I always thought the Leaving Cert history was very clever. It would kind of almost ask you slightly trick questions, go like, the Nazi regime might have come up with some good policies. And still remember they drained the lands, you know, the autobahns, and set up the Volkswagen group to employ people. Now the reason is because they made it illegal to be unemployed.
Yeah.
But you could, you know, kind of
That was
made you
clever.
think in a different way about
Very good, yeah.
interpreting history, because that's when you learn that history is not just finished and done. That it's like it is our present day interpretation based on our present
It's
day
living.
knowledge
Yeah,
of
yeah, it's living.
what went on.
There's lessons,
The fact
yeah.
that we still talk about what the hell happened to Michael Collins. You know?
yeah.
Why is there no autopsy report when there was an autopsy done, and all the lovely mystery attached to it?
Yeah.
And then of course it gets exaggerated when it's mystery, whereas probably ineptitude and incompetence is the reason for some boring bureaucratic thing happened. But we can now imagine that he would have saved us from the religious orders, tyranny and all of that, whereas the reality is he was all on board.
He was
fully.
just-
He was like,
That
it's the
hero.
1920s in Ireland. What could he have done, even if he was against it? Yeah, that was my most proud thing. I got an A1 in English as well. which
Oh,
I should
yeah.
put out nowhere
So you
else.
did really
And,
well.
I was
Cool.
quite clever, you see, in my subjects where, you know, only 6 counted, so I kind of focused on them and let everything else
no,
go
that's
by
cool.
the wayside.
Yeah.
It's,
It's a real
I
crossroads.
mean, you wish you knew now what you wish you knew then what you know now.
You do.
Because I probably wanted to do English in Trinity, but I remember going to the open day and going, I won't be kind of allowed in here, or they're all different. Probably because I saw a man with a scarf or something. I went, oh, good Lord. I'd out myself in no time wearing a scarf in cold conditions. So I go to DCU because it's the university closest to Monaghan, and the bus routes work out really well. Probably in Glasnevin, a small little 11 or 13
That's so
bus
funny.
in. And I'm kind of glad I did it anyway, because I know journalists always scoff at the journalism degree, but it's the rite of passage of college, really. That's what it was.
Yeah,
for
definitely fabulous. Cool. I'll do my quick bites though.
Oh,
Quick
yes,
bites.
yes, of course.
So, Barry's or lions? And I nearly forgot that question earlier. Barry's or lions?
Well, this is a funny one, because my mother's being from Cork, we always
Yeah,
thought, well, we had to drink Barry's tea. But I think from like a grandmother of hers, Barry's was seen as the kind of Protestant tea, and therefore the wrong side of the Civil War or something.
Okay,
So they actually, in Fianna Fáil parts of East Cork, were Lyons households. Strangely, yes, there you go. That's a controversial one.
They're controversial.
And but in later years, I made up for it and just drank Barry's, so it's Barry's now.
Your Barry's. Is that your
go
final?
against
Is
the
that your
thing
final
You
answer?
can, yeah.
You go against the thing you grew up with, don't you?
Yeah.
We go, good Irish tea. You're going, is it grown in Ireland? Don't mind that. It's Irish tea, and that's it.
So would you like brown sauce, red sauce, or Ballymaloo?
Oh, controversial. Like tomato ketchup, of course, as a
Exactly,
gentleman
yes.
call it. It's chef. We have the chef one in our house. It's too sweet.
Yeah.
And I don't have brown sauce in the house, but I do long for the odd time because my dad
With
used to have,
what?
like
Sausages
cheese
or something, or
It's
cheese?
like a cheese sandwich with brown
It's
sauce.
kind of a
Oh,
bit
yeah.
like clown and chutney, sort of.
Yeah, because he had Branston
Flavours.
pickle as well, which is still,
yeah.
which is essentially the
I've
kind
only
of.
Yeah, that
tasted
makes
it
sense.
once. Like
Yeah.
I always thought it was gross, but yeah.
It's got a nice tang though, all the same, doesn't it? I'm going by memory. And I don't remember the last time I had it or what even I would have had it with. But well, there is ketchup in the house. In fact, so their prawn cocktail is made at Christmas.
Tomato ketchup. Cool.
Actually, how do you make
I'll
a Mario
figure it
sauce? Because it's a great tip in a Mario sauce. So
Well, I've had a few failings trying to do my own homemade mayonnaise
Yeah.
because of the slow pouring, and
Yeah.
it has separated from me on a couple of times, and the old Hellmans will have to be put out.
just a little bit of hot water.
Oh, is that right? Well, that would have helped
we
rescued it.
Brought it back.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, very good. Okay.
Next time.
I remember that now this time. But it generally would have been just Hellman's mayonnaise, chef ketchup, Worcester sauce,
Yeah.
lemon juice, and
Tabasco.
it might have been Tabasco. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
next
be
time you make
sure.
it exactly what you've done there, a little bit of brandy in there.
A little bit of
some-
brandy?
Yeah, and then whip a bit of cream.
Okay.
Whipped cream, and just put 2 spoons of whipped cream into it and stir it, and it
I'm
comes
going
like
to
a mousse.
Write that down.
And it's
Mike.
unbelievably delicious. It just changes.
And you're not snobby about using these off-the-shelf products. I know you're making your own mayonnaise, but it's okay.
No, it's fine.
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 So
Are you sure?
Seems so sure.
No, it's totally fine. But
We have
like,
melon
but-
chopped up with the prawns as well to give
What?
the sweetness. Yeah.
Do you? Not cucumber, or melon.
I think it's when maybe the second day or something, and
Keeps them fresher.
there aren't enough prawns left, so like, oh, we'll get some.
And do you
melon.
use iceberg lettuce then?
Absolutely,
A bit of crunch.
yes, shredded.
Yeah.
My mother would put parsley in it, which I was always
That's nice.
against, and so it's obviously.
Is that gone
copying
out
the
of your recipe book? Is it the
That's
parsley?
got it's paprika all the way.
Sorry, Mum.
Proper 1980s. Yes, I was never a big fan of parsley, but I'm getting back into it because I don't like to be one of these people who says I don't like that. I don't like that. It means I'm just being ignorant.
Yeah.
Because coriander, I always remove straight away.
I love coriander. Yeah.
And if it's chopped, I go mad.
I think
very
there was
strong,
there was a time that it seemed to be in everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, it was like
I never
overdone.
mentioned on a
Salad.
menu if you go out. You're kind of going, I'm going to have this meal, and then suddenly like you never mentioned you're going to chop parsley and put it all over. It's not written in any description, and you can't.
It's only a garnish.
You can't unpluck when it's chopped.
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite restaurant? I was going to ask you a favourite pub, but you're
favourite
up
restaurant?
very early, so we'll go with restaurants.
Oh, do you know McNean House at all?
Yeah.
I'm joking.
I know, like
Fine restaurant.
what's his name?
Do I have a favourite restaurant?
Is that Richard Cargan's place? Is it?
Nevin, of course.
Nevin's?
Ah, yeah,
You big-
Nevin.
I love Nevin. Nevin myself
He's
get on great.
cool.
Really love it.
Everybody gets on with Nevin.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't think
yeah.
anyone said I hate Nevin Maguire. One of our favourite random occasions is going to the Miami Cafe in Dunleary and
Yes.
before the cinema.
Yes.
And in one of those old, they call them greasy spoons, but it's unfair.
But it is a
because
great.
they-
No,
yeah.
but it is. It's a
But,
diner.
yeah, the Italians
the-
are still running the place.
Yeah,
Irish
it's,
Italians.
It's the Irish diner opposed to the
It
American
is,
diner, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, yeah. What would we have very different? I suppose the battered fish you certainly
Our
wouldn't
chips
get in
are
America.
completely
Chips,
different.
Of course, completely different. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And,
do love how we got the
and
Italians
the
to come
batter
to
burger.
Ireland. Go, you have the best food in the world. Do you know what you'll do now here? Fry up some potatoes there.
Yeah.
Cut them up and
Yeah.
cook them in beef.
But the Italians
Beef fat.
they understood ingredients,
Right.
and the
okay.
potato is the most important thing with a chipper. So they understood the potato.
The thing that's difficult because we've just come from Italy is to get homemade pasta in Ireland, and Romano's on Capel Street will still do it. I don't know if you've idled down there.
Yeah, of course.
And from outside, you think this is a very bog standard restaurant plan. There's not much flair and about it. You know, they don't go to town. It's like the paper tablecloths and everything, but beautiful homemade pasta.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's incredible. So they'd be the kind of haunts. Used to live in the north side of Dublin quite a long time.
Do you like
We
Indian
used to
food?
go to
Spice?
we used to go to Chili Banana
Yeah.
at Goodbit, which is my favourite place back
I've
in
never
the day.
been there.
Thai
so-
food.
Yeah, Thai is it?
And yeah, but since I met my husband 12 years ago, spice has disappeared. And,
Right.
the odd time
He's your
for the
spice
heat.
now.
Slickly put.
Yes.
And now I have a hot thing. I go, oh my God, I used to love this. Now it's burning me. This is your fault. That's how it goes. Blame each other and fight over food.
Your
as well.
anniversary is coming up. You might go for a meal for your anniversary. Yeah.
It will be spicy,
Go out.
unfortunately.
I know
was
of
going
a
on
great.
my own.
I know of a great restaurant. It's called Dunbrody House down in Wexford.
I've never been to actually.
Yeah, you need to come down. You need to come down.
I will have to come down.
Can you think of a food hell? Do you have a food hell?
Food hell is because I worked in newsrooms late at night, early mornings, and was stabbing microwavable things.
Yes.
Usually pasta dishes, and like, what were we thinking?
Smell. Yeah.
You know, like pasta has to be eaten just almost immediately, doesn't it? You can't sit around at all. That certainly can't be microwave. The smell and everything. I'm right there now, peeling off the thing, and it burns you. It half comes off. It's disgusting. You know it's slop, but you're getting stuff
can
into
see
you because you're
something.
exhausted and
Yeah,
ready
you
to
need it, yeah,
on a
yeah.
bicycle at 5 o'clock in the
Overworked.
morning. That's the food hell.
That's the food hell.
I could end up back in a newsroom doing food hell. I could see that happening.
And then we would with your best foot forward dish. So did
Which
you
is
think of one?
which is kind of the one. Yeah, well, I don't know whose recipe this is, and if it's familiar, let us know. But there's a kind of a chicken chorizo artichoke bake, which we go to quite a bit when we're kind of panicking and what's coming.
Love
because
artichoke.
it just feeds 4 people really easily.
Sounds lovely.
And it's
You
just
can't
like
beat
you
chorizo
put it
sausage.
in the dish.
So much
and
flavour.
Everything you have to cut. Chorizo has to be kind of freshly cut, doesn't it? Is there
It does,
or
yeah,
am I
but-
imagining that?
Yeah, I worked with a chef called Dario Trello in Canada, and he was Spanish, and he taught me. I was always creative, but he taught me flavors of food, and we used to make our own chorizo sausage in the hotel there,
Very good.
and it was like amazing. So
There's lovely ones in West Cork. I think it's Gubeen one.
yeah,
we
Gubeen is
get.
excellent. Gubeen is
an
amazing.
excellent
So it's really really good.
So we do that, and that's just with chicken stock and wine, and
Yeah.
your chicken on the
Bit of
bone,
cream.
which, we don't put cream in it. Just garlic, onions, and so on put into the pan. That
Sounds lovely with the
produces all the
artichokes.
lovely oil and the baby artichokes from the oil, the anti-pasty sort of
lovely,
ones,
yeah.
which are very very
Yeah.
nice.
Gorge, yeah.
We've had no complaints about that one to date.
Wouldn't say so.
But we do a good like a roast. I've tried to recreate maybe Callan's Christmas dinner. Fairly successfully, it has to be said. So I'm very proud that's that.
Cool.
But when you're kind of doing it on your own with all the different components going on, it's quite an achievement. Then you sit down sweating to eat it.
Oh my God, there's so much work. in
It's
Christmas
more
dinner.
about
Boiling.
getting it on the table. And go,
So much
oh,
work.
It is.
thank
Yeah.
God for that.
Yeah.
I did buy a Ban Marie.
Yeah.
And or does it have a different name? You know, the
Yeah,
kind of
the
buffalo ones, 'cause
Ban
my
Marie,
parents have
yeah.
actually started using that because they used to.
They're called
The vegetables would be overcooked, but they're just magically keep your
they're
vegetables.
sideboards,
warm
but
without-
they're
sideboards.
yeah, but they're I think they're called a Victorian sideboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that term from now
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
And food faux pas.
A food faux pas, as in my
Anything that you've done wrong with food that you've
mayonnaise. As they're doing homemade mayonnaise. I cannot
said it already.
achieve it all. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose there are. People tell me my main faux pas, which is more to do with eating etiquette, is having pizza with a knife and fork.
Oh yeah, that's kind of cute.
I'm one of those people,
Yeah,
which
I
is
love
why I
it.
like burgers without the baps. So I can eat with a knife and fork and I'm not using my hands. It still feels weird to me. I had a friend, he's dead now. I tend to have friends older than me, and he made his first ever trip to a fast food restaurant, and his first question was, "Where's the cutlery?"
Yeah.
It was like, "What, we have to eat
Yeah.
chips?" The thing,
Brilliant,
but it was
yeah.
like it was a proper old Church of
gentleman.
Ireland man. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
he
It was
sounds
like,
lovely.
no cutlery, and he couldn't talked about it for like years afterwards. Go, no cutlery in the fast food restaurant.
Had to leave.
He ate it and loved every bit of it.
Yeah,
Because I think he grew up with crystal and silver and everything.
Yeah.
So we kind of this
Like
was a
Kevin.
delight.
Like Kevin, yeah.
Kevin, what was it like, really?
Did you take a 99 or a gelato?
Oh, sorry, 99 gelato. I never understood 99s. You can't taste the chocolate. Goes in, it's cold. You can't. This adds nothing to the ice cream.
Yes.
Give me a plain cone, thank you very
Much
much.
nicer.
Yeah.
And
a
I'm just
flake on the
terrified
side.
I would love a-
and a flake
a
on the
flake
You
on
might
the
have the side afterwards at room temperature, nice warm day. Yeah. I kind of the crunch of sprinkles, bit of sugar on top of your sugar. Nothing wrong with that. The green flavored syrup because there's no flavor other than I'm eating green. And I think I was in my 30s when I realized, oh, this is meant to be lime flavored. This green stuff they're putting on it. It's just like
Did you ever have one of those screwballs ice creams?
The screwball
with the bubble gum at the bottom.
Is that what you mean?
The bubble gum in the bottom of it.
No, my
It was
God.
like a cone. And I had the green. I had the green syrup and the red syrup.
Well, that's
Swirled
the
down.
maxi tub has the maxi twist or whatever they call
Yeah,
it.
with the bubble gum at
Has
the
it
bottom.
swirled in.
Remember
I
the
don't remember
bubble
bubble
gum
gum at the bottom.
Yeah.
No. I do remember Scribblers. Do you remember Scribblers that had about like 5 different,
remember Scribblers.
colourings now banned by the European Union? I presume. It was a pencil. It was a nice pop pencil that was like red, blue,
you
yellow,
pushed it
and
up,
like
was it?
green on the inside. It's just like you just kept licking it until you got
Wibbly wobbly wonders.
all the flavours that sent you mad when you got
What
home.
about the Wibblies? The Wibbly wobbly
They're
wonders.
steady.
They're still going. Yeah, they're
still
a lot
going.
smaller.
There's a.
Ours were just bigger. That's what I do.
It's still a curious ice lolly, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because of the jelly, the
The
frozen
jelly
bit on top.
and the chocolate.
And the chocolate, yes,
Yeah.
the chocolate chip.
It
thing.
works on that one.
That is good. That's a good
It's,
one.
it's interesting that the chocolate, because I'm 100% with you on the flake on the 99.
Are you okay?
Yeah, but like if you have like a chalk ice and it's dipped in chocolate, I like that.
Choc ice.
Yeah, because it's dipped in the chocolate, so it's
I
the
see what
chocolate
you
is
mean.
frozen.
And I'm with you too. And you know, choc
yeah.
ices are gone now. They've,
Yeah, so
they've
it's like the
discontinued
Magnum or
them.
whatever. But
Yeah, and I never really got the Magnum. Again, too thick or something.
Too much, yeah,
What
too
was it?
heavy.
Was it due to the thinness? Do you think of?
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
chocolate?
yeah.
Is it the-
I didn't know chocolate.
I the flavour.
I think you can still get the chalk ice, but not chocolate, not the chalk ice. But you the own brand chalk ices. in
Very good,
The different
yeah.
supermarkets.
Yeah.
But when you bite the chocolate, I think this is what it is, because you bite the chocolate and that starts melting in your mouth, and then you hit the ice cream.
So you get the flavour
Yeah,
probably
of the
both.
chocolate,
Whereas
yeah.
in the 99, it's
Yeah.
all it's like it's not going to make it.
Yeah.
It's half. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a thick frozen piece of chocolate by the time you get to it.
You'd be
That's
much
brilliant.
better off eating
A
this.
Calippo is my go-to kind of
Oh, yeah.
summer thing.
Summer
Yeah,
thing. I love a
Calippo are lovely.
Solero.
Was that the-
What was the other one? What was it? What was the one with the ice cream in the centre and then dipped with orange ice on the outside?
Oh, the orange super split or orange split.
Orange split.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love them.
They're lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, my father, he would go, I think, on a Saturday night to the country pub, which was also bar grocery.
Yeah.
And on the way out, he would buy, the ice lollies. So
Bring them home.
We'd wake
But
up the
that's
next
great
morning, would he
memories.
remember to do it? And it's like, yes, there's an orange split.
And would you get that in the
that
morning
is
or
great.
would you see it in the
I
morning?
get up in the
look at it. I
morning.
think we would see it in the morning and then campaign until we were allowed to eat it, which would probably be after mass or whatever.
Yeah.
God, it just reminded me of those.
That's cool. That's
Yeah,
great memory.
Food memories.
Yeah.
Good memories.
There's a Tato one as well, isn't there? Tato.
Jeez, I nearly forgot.
Tato versus what?
Tato versus King.
Well, now I'm going to give you an answer you probably won't ever have.
Yes.
Which is Tato over King, but Northern Tato.
What?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the Northern
yes.
Tato. They have the
Tell
superior
us.
multiple flavors because we don't have pickled onion in the south. They
Yeah.
have. They also have Worcester sauce, pickled onion.
Oh,
flavour.
I love Worcester
Really
sauce
nice.
chips.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
crisps, yeah, they're really
Tato.
Mustard
so-
sauce, pickled onion, Tato.
Yeah, well, it was separately. No.
Yeah.
Cheese and onion. I don't know. I could, take
Yeah.
or leave cheese and onion flavour. But I think it's a superior Tato just because of the flavours. Never liked smoky bacon. Salt vinegar Tato are too strong.
Yeah.
And yes, I've northern
Really
Tato.
good answer. Thank
King
you.
cheese and onion now are very good.
Yeah, they
Yes.
are.
yes.
But this is my crisps are my big downfall in life,
Yes.
and they would sort of start
You
around
seem to have done a
Christmas.
lot of research to your own crisps.
I know, I do. It's like I love crisps, and I just can't eat them. 'cause
Are they
I know
made
they're
somewhere
very
else?
Fattening. Are they made
The
somewhere
northern
else?
one. The northern ones.
Northern ones are made in the north. There's a Castle Cook.
Oh,
Castle
yes.
Cook,
Yeah.
And Northern family. It's still family owned.
Yeah.
And they're actually technically the only Irish owned crisp in the. Well, certainly the Tato is owned by Germany. Kyo's is an Irish owned brand as well.
Yeah,
Sure,
McDonald's.
But I
yeah.
used to think O'Donnell, but I think that's
O'Donnell's.
made by. I think that's made by a conglomerate as well.
Oh, is it?
I
Is it?
stand to be corrected.
Yeah,
of
no,
course,
okay, yeah,
if
no,
I'm
no,
not
that's
completely
good.
accurate, but I'm pretty sure I was disappointed because I do like. I've tasted them all. I know
Yes,
every
I love
single
crisps
crisp that
too.
exists.
Yeah, I'd love
Not so
crisps.
mad on spicy ones. They seem to be extremely popular now, because I kind of like watch people in Apple Greens and Circle K's to see what's going on, and I've noticed.
I think
and
that's
this
a
is
bit weird, no?
trend. It is a bit weird. It is weird. It's the impressionist thing. You observe people and go,
Oh,
"What are
right.
they actually buying in here?" And because the chicken, what do they call the
Chicken
thing,
wraps
the chicken
or
fillet?
chicken
Chicken
fillet
fillet
roll,
roll,
yeah.
yeah.
I think that's not as popular as we sort of make out to be at all.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
getting way more fancier stuff at the deli. And I go with the busiest time of the year when I'm trying to run from the radio to the Callan's Kicks at 2 different studios. And I noticed they're buying really, really spicy crisps. There's something like Tac Tac thing. Which
Doritos. Is it
arrived
Doritos
into
or
Ireland.
something? It's like-
Doritos
yeah.
and kind of like
those-
Walker's Max. There's like a really high spice. So that we're becoming very sophisticated or not sophisticated.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Tell you
Yeah.
what's going on.
It's all about
Popcorn
getting
is
a
the
fresh
thing.
crisp, though. You know when you get a
Yeah.
bag of crisps that are so fresh.
But you know what? I like when there's a kind of a big bag of crisps
Yeah.
and they've been left a little bit and
Do
they
you?
go a tiny bit stale.
Do you?
I really do. I
Do you make a sandwich in your stale batch loaf then?
You don't get
Before you make
need
stuffing.
it very fresh. Yeah. all the bad things in one place. That's the death row meal. Right there. Thicker crisps, nice and. Like we buy the big bags, we call them share bags.
Yeah.
People are having them on their own. What do you will.
Definitely, yeah.
So it's a
yeah.
kind of there's maybe the extra bit of I didn't eat the whole bag and they're still here, and I like the little kind of slightly because it's obviously taking moisture, isn't it? So it goes a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not as crispy.
No.
It's
Still
the
tasty.
idea. Still very tasty.
Yeah.
But I try. Popcorn is the thing that keeps me off the crisps.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. And sorry, what was your question? What's
Oh,
the thing you have in
Marmite
the
or
fridge?
Marmite.
Oh yeah, I
Marmite.
was in Australia, and I think that's the only time I ever had Marmite.
Yeah.
Liked it actually, and
Yeah.
I've not tasted since. I
Yeah.
don't know what my palate would be like now.
Oh
Yeah.
yes.
It's very kind of salty,
Salty.
thing,
It
isn't
is,
it?
yeah.
That's what I
Yeah,
remember.
but I like on toast with butter and Marmite.
With
It's,
butter. you know.
it's really good with
Would it be nice
really
with-
good anchovies and Marmite.
Oh my god,
Oh,
all the salty
right,
things.
Jesus.
Yeah,
How would you
delicious.
detect you're just able to do it with your, but maybe our
Yeah.
palates are not sophisticated.
No,
enough
it's
to detect.
delicious. There was actually I was
Salty
at a
fish.
friend's house a couple of months ago, and he produced that after copious amount of wine and whatever at late at night.
Salt in the
Lovely.
bread, salt in
Yeah,
the butter,
everything
salt in the
was going on,
anchovies,
but I tell you, it was brilliant.
because I was about to say,
Midnight
would it
snack.
be not nicer on unsalted butter because the Marmite will do
I
all
don't
the
get
salt.
unsalted butter at all.
Do you not?
No, because look at any recipe you look at, right? It says add 4 ounces of unsalted butter and then it down the night
you have to
and
put
add a
salt.
pinch of salt.
Yeah,
Seriously.
the butter would have done
It's
the
like
job.
self-raising flour.
Actually, when I see you guys, by the way, and I use recipes from all of you,
Yeah.
I will always see salt separate to the butter, and I go, I think there's probably enough in the butter.
Yeah.
Because you can always do it afterwards, can't you? Or
Yeah.
that's a question I've always wanted to ask proper chefs.
Always season your food at the start of cooking.
Okay.
Because
So it doesn't work
salt is a food enhancer.
because
so
it's going to do a thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
and you
right.
just get too salty.
Okay.
So.
Okay, so always season your food at the start of cooking,
Yeah.
and go to the north if you want a packet of crisps, right?
There you
Thanks, Oliver. That was
Yeah.
a lovely
I
chat.
enjoyed this.
Yeah,
It's brilliant.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you very
for
much.
coming
Thank you so
into
much.
it. You're so good.